Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, to all of our non-binary friends, everyone on the spectrum and in between, welcome to another episode of The Shutter Show. I'm one of your hosts, Ken Stacknick, and this is my co-host,
David Marlowe.
And David, we are talking about a little movie today called The Dentist.
Is there any tagline for this one?
There is a tagline.
Oh, please tell me what it is.
It is. It's. I'm not going to lie. It's not.
Is it something like The Doctor Will See You Now?
Pretty close.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck.
It's been 6 months. Time for your checkup.
Oh, my God. Ken, I already didn't like going to the dentist. I don't know anybody who likes going to the dentist. Also, at the dentist, it has that the drill makes by far what has to be one of the worst sounds I've ever heard in my entire life.
It made me like stand up and squirm. Like it made me like literally get out of my chair and just be like, ha 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 ha. I don't like it at all.
You just smell your teeth getting fucking drilled into as the smoke comes off it, and you're just like, oh, that's why I went like 6 months ago, but of course I hadn't been in 4 years. So,
oh no.
But here's the thing, teeth were great.
Hey, there.
That's because I floss daily, bitches.
There we go.
Ken, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I am alive. I got my first vaccine, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Fucking A.
Yeah. So waiting for the second one, and other than that, just keeping on.
Keeping on. I know, like, you and I are both, like, going through some, like, crazy fucking transitions left and right. I
think everybody is.
Yeah. And, before we start, I do want to give just one shout-out to any of my buddies or friends or family who are listening in Indianapolis. I'm sure you all have heard by this point, though I understand that it's hard to discern from all the other shit going on. The giant shooting in the FedEx facility in Indianapolis, my hometown.
Oh, when was that? Is that today?
That was like 3-4 days ago.
I literally cannot keep it.
I can't keep it straight.
Yeah, I refuse to create a spreadsheet to keep this all straight. I'm just furious all the time. It is not good. So yeah.
But the silver lining is we are fresh off the news that Derek Chauvin was convicted on all charges.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
It's a day.
Good news for 420, I guess.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And happy 420.
Happy 420 indeed. I spent it baking bread and getting baked. It was a good day.
Oh, gotta love it. And your mom's been visiting too.
Indeed, yeah.
She is sweet. I got to meet her for the first time.
There we go.
She's adorable.
Mom's in town. Now, all right, I should say, before we get into this movie too much, or before anyone decides, like, this movie sounds really good, pauses the podcast and goes and puts this on, there is some content warnings.
Little trigger warning.
Yeah, for this movie. There is dog murder, sexual assault and violence, rape, needles, a very, very problematic portrayal of mental health, and then obviously just so much teeth and mouth trauma. Just general...
Well, no eye trauma this time.
No eye trauma this time.
Ken, good for you. You picked a movie without eye trauma, but it
does occasionally happen, but I found some other ways to traumatize you instead.
Now you said that there's rape in this film. I don't think there's actually, like, rape. There's sexual assault for sure.
The rape was about to happen, and then stuff
was
stops
about to happen.
Yeah. So, but like, if this is something that affects you, it's gonna happen is just as bad as it.
Yeah. The psyche that goes, his psyche that goes into that happening, is super troublesome as well, because you're just like, well, then this is kind of always who he was, because, like, he only stops when his hallucinations take over, and it looks like it's his wife on the table, and then he's like, oh, that fucking bitch, and then he tries to choke her to death. So you're just like, so would you have done this if you weren't going crazy?
Yeah, neither of us are qualified to discuss specifically what is wrong with this portrayal of mental health. Let's just say it is far and wide, and it is not accurate at all. People do not just go crazy and then they take a couple of pills and then they're fine.
This was also around the time that, like I'm the poster child for Ritalin. Surprise, surprise. You know, when it was, like, I was one of the first kids on it. And that was around the time where, like, mental health was getting a little bit of a closer look, but it was mostly doctors drawing a giant circle around all of the conditions and putting one pill on it. And so there's still an insane amount of ignorance at that time. And so I could definitely see that.
I understand how the dentist came to be. But it is no longer 1996, and so a lot of this content might not sit as well with everyone as it was put up with at the time.
It makes me curious to watch the sequel.
The Dentist 2? Yeah. Brace yourself.
Yeah, where he escapes and then goes to just a smaller town and becomes the dentist there, despite the fact that, I imagine you would have to go through some, strict background checks, or at least have them check your license, and after what happens in the first film, I'm pretty sure his license got revoked.
I don't know.
He's certainly not a doctor.
Counterfeit license?
I guess?
Barter dentistry?
But, I do feel because this happened in Los Angeles.
Yeah, like in Sino specifically, which is pretty much where we're recording, which was a little wild.
Yeah, and so you would think that his situation would be very widely publicized. So you would think even if it's a small town, you would go and be like, hey, you look really familiar. Oh, I'm going to go call the cops now.
Well, I mean, it is a time before cable news is really prevalent, so I guess if that guy... But we haven't seen that movie. What we should talk about is this movie, the first Dentist movie.
Yes. Now, I'm going tangents. It's 4:20.
Yes, no, indeed. Now, David, why don't you tell the good people at home a brief summary about what this movie is about?
Okay. Well, first, interesting fact, the film itself was inspired by a real-life serial killer dentist.
Good times.
Glennon Engelman, who, by the way, the star of this, Corbin Burnson, had previously played in the 1993 telefilm Beyond Suspicion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, so he played the dentist in the made-for-TV movie, and he played the dentist in The Dentist.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's pretty great.
What a strange coincidence. We
almost had it with Ben Affleck, where he played George Reeves as Superman in Hollywoodland. And then he played Batman in Justice League and Justice League. And if he had if they had cast Affleck as Superman, then that would have been essentially, the same thing. The guy playing the guy and then the guy playing the guy in the other thing.
God damn it. Okay, but yes, if I were to break this down in a short summary, at least how it's portrayed is, this dentist has the perfect life, an attractive wife, a practice that's doing well, and
a big house,
everything a nice
is
car.
White.
Yeah, everything is white. It's but things go awry when he starts to lose it after catching his wife going down on the pool boy. And then also gets blackmailed by a tax man. And then that's when he decides to lose it
completely.
Completely, yes. And this takes place within 2 days, though originally it was written to take place within 1 day, and they added an extra day onto it for some reason. For reasons.
I can see why they stretched this out over the course of 2 days. It just makes...
It would have made the forensics...
It makes plotting sense a lot easier.
Yeah, just figuring the forensics out on the bullet alone, at least give him a day. Even though that takes weeks.
Weeks, usually, yeah.
Yeah. But far be it for me to try to break open the illusions of this beast. So, yeah, goes a little postal on everybody. He goes a little bit of... oh, God, what's the... Falling Down.
Yes.
This has huge vibes of Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know what Falling Down is, pretty fucking kick-ass movie. It's just Michael Douglas is driving in the heat of L.A. traffic and...
Can't take it anymore.
Just can't take it anymore. And so literally leaves his car on the freeway and just decides to walk home. And on his way home, he pretty much just takes out all of his frustrations and the shit going wrong in his life out on all the people who inconvenience him. Like, so, like, little gripes that you're like, oh, why doesn't this fast food place have a burger that, like, why don't they make the burgers look like how it looks like on the picture? Why are you charging so much for a Coke? This should be 50 cents. You know, weird shit like that. This has more of that vibe to it.
This definitely has, I can see what you're saying.
There's a cop trying to chase down Michael Douglas.
I mean, yes, no, I mean, like that. What this movie has that makes it different is, so the main character, his name is, what is it? It's something Alan Finestone.
Yes.
And his initials are AF. And everything in this movie is crazy AF. Like, the cinematography is crazy, the performance is crazy. The production design is absolutely crazy.
The random celebrities that show up in this are crazy.
There's everything in this movie is turned up to 11, and everything in it is wild and like this is a movie that is style. It throws everything at you, including the kitchen sink. They use every cheap trick in the book, and I don't know how you felt about this, but I found this really delightful. And, David, also, a fun fact. Did you know that all of the celluloid that was used to shoot this movie was printed on pure cocaine?
I would 100% believe that, given the sets that they were on.
Everything about this movie is on cocaine, and I really, really liked it. I also want to say there's one thing about seeing this on Shudder, which I really appreciated. This print is not a immaculate, restored, HD, beautiful print. It's a little grungy. It's got some scratches in it. You can kind of see the grain.
It seemed more like the 80s than the 90s.
It's got that. It's got a more of like a VHS, DVD, grimy kind of a look to it, and it's one of those movies from that era that I think plays better on kind of a roughed up print. One of the things I know that Tarantino has said is that like he has seen the beautiful, perfect, restored version of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and he kind of likes his old beat-up copy better because it feels more real because it's got some grime and some dirt on it. It gives it some realism, and it adds. I don't know. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi to watching the movie that really makes everything gel in a way that I was not expecting it to. The movie definitely has its issues, but I had so much fun with this because I hadn't seen this movie. I'd seen this movie when I was...
I heard about it.
I saw this movie when I was like 21, 22. It had been ages, and I remember being like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
But what kind of like makes it stand out as an almost... It seemed like it's an older flick, is that synth soundtrack.
Oh, absolutely. It's got
which they did in a weekend, by the way, because the budget was so the budget was so low, which I think, God, I keep hearing differing numbers. On the low end, we're talking like a few $100,000. On the high end, about $2.6 million. I think when all is said and done, that might be for the entirety, like both 1 and 2 combined.
Okay.
But the synth score was not only done in the same weekend. The person who composed the music for this film also did all the Foley work.
Oh, wow.
So, like, all the sound effects stuff, like, they also did. So, you know, really pinching those pennies. Like, in fact, the budget was so low that when they needed to make a few changes to the set when the rewrites came in, the producer refused to give any more money to the director, Brian Yuzna. And we're like, keep in mind, this is the guy who did the Reanimator sequels, and like just did his work is amazing.
I mean, Yuzna's got a really long track record. The thing that most people actually know his work from is he wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes, but he did direct Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Yes, and he also he was a producer.
Not that that's any good, but because it's not.
Yes, but he did His Society, Bride of Reanimator, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Return of the Living Dead 3, let's see here. Beyond a Reanimator, he was the go-to guy for a long time of like, if you need to do a straight-to-video, or a straight-to-video sequel, you know, he was kind of the guy to go to, and you'd get something really interesting out of it. Because, yeah, there's a lot of really great low-budget use of cranes and shots. There are mirror effects. There are really creative uses of cutting. There are times that I can definitely see when they're making a cut because like they're going into a room on the set that they haven't built and they have like 4 foot of wall and they can open the door this much before you just see the nothingness behind it. But they're using every single frame of that so that way the money can go to where it needs to go. And
they actually almost weren't able to get the full runtime that they were supposed to get, which is why they added the scene at the end in the theater.
Oh,
and that's why they added the whole thing like he likes music and they added that part at the beginning where it's just his hand doing all the pantomiming of being a dentist and working on somebody. So that was all because they didn't have enough time on there necessarily. But the location scout having to be like, hey, there's this really cool theater that we can just use practically for free. And the director's like, perfect. Like, let's use that. This looks really cool. Like, we'll put this will be the closing shot. Or at least one of the closing shots. But, like, what was it like when he asked the producer for money to change around some of the scenery or to get art department to go in and actually, like, change the rooms into themes? Because the themes were, eventually he decided he wanted the rooms to be the different parts of his psyche.
Okay.
And so he wanted to add a theme to each room. Because the producer wouldn't give him money for it, he had to give his own credit card to art department.
Oh, wow.
And art department felt really bad, and they were able to mostly find things that they could just borrow. But they're just like, seriously, boss? He's like, it's a pretty high limit. I think you can get some decent stuff. Just, you know, don't spend me out of house and home, please. But yeah, like you're working with this director who he either gets a really solid budget or he gets a shit budget. There's never any in between for him.
But he also, the reason that you hire Yuzna is that he gets the most out of every dollar in every movie.
Is it Yuzna or Yuzna?
I don't know. We'll say both, and that way somebody can get very mad at us in the comments and send us a very long email about it.
Awesome.
There we go. Perfect.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no worries at all. Actually, somebody that I want to talk about is the DP, Levi Isaacs. Now, Levi Isaacs got his start shooting some stuff here and there, but he kind of made a name for himself when he shot Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, the one with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, I know that one. It was actually... You're going to be really ashamed of me when I say this. That was actually the first Texas Chainsaw movie that I ever saw.
Wow, okay.
So I did not know what to make of this franchise.
Yeah.
And then the next one I watched after that was 2. Well, no, not 2. No, it was 3. The one with Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, man, okay. Man, your journey through Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a journey.
All over the place.
So, all right, so Levi Isaacs also shot almost all of Dawson's Creek.
Cool.
But the 2 titles that as soon as I found out that he shot the entirety of the series, I stood up and I was like, holy shit, this is the most obvious thing. How did I not see this before? He shot Andy Richter Controls the Universe and all of Malcolm in the Middle. And if you think about the cinematography of Malcolm in the Middle, it is identical to The Dentist. It is the same kind of crazy wide angles and rushing cameras and tilting and Dutch angles.
Anytime somebody starts going like crazy, does that little whirling.
Yep, exactly. All of that crazy moving camera, the Steadicam work, the cranes, all of it is everything is on display in Malcolm in the Middle. And watching this originally, I was like, wow, Brian's got a really good handle on all this movement. And then I realized that either he taught everything to Leslie or to Levi, or Levi brought a lot more to this movie than I would have guessed.
Which I'm sure, given the budget, because what was it that they were, even in rewrites, they were rewriting the script while production was going on. Like, he would just, like, after each day, he would go get sushi with Corbin, the main actor, and they would write scenes together. Like, it's... So, yeah, I guess he might have had to be like, okay, I guess I'll figure this out on the fly and try and make your life a little easier.
I mean, that sounds a lot like Corbin, and I use his first name because I've actually worked with Corbin.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Corbin Burnson has actually personally yelled at me. I saw the movie Baby Driver with him.
Really?
Yeah.
So, Ken, please expand on this.
I worked on a movie called Life with Dog, where I was the gaffer, and we shot in Turlock, California. And it's about a man who loses his wife, and then he finds a stray dog, and he learns to not want to commit revenge on the on the person who killed his wife because of his life with dog. Tap my nose, respell dog to God. Is he
on Christian Netflix now?
That might be on Christian Netflix. I know you can stream it on Amazon for like $3, but it's like religious small R. It talks about a lot of God stuff, but it doesn't get super Jesus-y specifically. Like it is like I found it to be a very like for a religious movie. It was not as overtly like in your face religious as a lot of the stuff that's on like Pure Flix and stuff.
Would you ever be? Are you on decent enough terms with him where you could get him back here for The Dentist 2? Brace yourself.
I mean, I can put in an email to a producer and we'll see. I mean, I was the gaffer, like, hey, guy who lit your movie a couple years ago.
We saw Baby Driver together.
Yeah. You wanna hop?
You yelled at me once.
Yeah, you wanna hop on a Zoom call and
why did he yell at you?
It was like 105 degrees in the desert. We had to have all the air conditioning off in the house, which had no airflow whatsoever. And he had like 9 pages of dialogue to read while he was producing, writing, starring in a movie. And I happened to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and he got mad. And that happens. It's a lot going on.
A lot of stress happening on set that I don't think a lot of folks or laymen when it comes to film. Like if you just kind of watch films and you don't really know much about what goes on behind them, there are so many moving parts. No matter it could be the smallest of student films, and there's still so many moving parts to consider.
Absolutely, yeah. Even on a smaller movie, it's often harder because you have as many parts to move, but you have less parts that move. Most people end up wearing multiple hats, and as a result, it becomes like when something breaks down, the problem becomes like if your person is, your production designer and your caterer. Well, if something goes wrong with the food, they can't be over there building the sets. Where it becomes hard when you have multiple people. It's easy because you have less people to communicate with, but they have more jobs.
And you have less cheat codes to throw at the problems.
Exactly.
Cheat codes being money.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, speaking of, back on the budget a little bit for The Dentist. So the dead dog in this film?
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah. So something that might make you feel a little bit better about this scene. That dead dog scene actually was a dead stuffed goat.
Okay.
That was placed in a way that hid the horns because they couldn't... this was the first day of production, and they could not find a fake dog or a stuffed dog to save their lives. They could, however, find a stuffed goat. And so they just bloodied it up enough to where it wouldn't look like any animal in particular.
Yeah, and then kept a blanket over it.
Kept the horns hidden.
Yep, yeah, and kept a blanket over it and just kind of like, yep, that's a dead dog. Yeah, no need to show it. Which, yeah, I was expecting I was expecting a full-on horrifying prosthetic because of what I thought the movie was. And then I was really confused why we didn't get a shot of that dead dog because, man, some of the gore shots in this movie
great.
Oh my God, they are you can
cringy and great.
You can tell that when they're like, look, we're going to shoot this in on a stage that's just the offices, and then in one of the producers' houses, and then we'll spend the rest of the money on the prosthetics and the VFX. And most impressive to me was I don't know what else to call them, the mouth puppets.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing.
There was only one actual large prosthetic mouth.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's what I think some of the people at home need to understand is, so that's, you don't build that small. Like, you don't build that mouth size.
No, how the fuck are you going to film that?
Well, like, A, how are you going to film that? But B, it's also infinitely more expensive to build something small. On top of the fact that, like, using your lenses and the cameras and such, like, you want something bigger. Like, there's a great example in the movie Lord of the Rings, when Frodo is crossing the mountains with the whole fellowship before things have gone bad, and he drops the ring in the snow. And we have that close-up where Boromir picks up the ring, and then and we see the ring in the foreground, like on the left, and then we see the party in the back on the right. That ring, in order to get that shot, that is like a 3-foot circumference ring. In order to get that in focus in the right size, with them in the background, deep focus. And it's the same thing with this. So this is like a giant, this is a giant mouth puppet.
So this is
a thing of absolute nightmares.
So this is like that scene from Top Secret, where with that large, like where you have the phone at the front of the frame, and the phone's ringing, and the German officer goes to pick up the phone. But because and then literally just picks up a large phone.
It is the exact result of that. Like another.
That's amazing.
Yes, no, like another interesting fact about like one of those weird things that happens with production. So when they filmed the Addams Family TV show originally in black and white, the problem that they had was all of the characters wear primarily black because they're spooky and they're ooky and all that good stuff, right? Well, you can't then have dark backgrounds because then the characters will just disappear into them. So, because you're shooting in black and white, you need to select the right color tones to get the right color grays to contrast the dark costumes that they're in. So the entire interior of the Addams Family house in black and white was pink and turquoise. To get the right color grays, so that way they stand out. And it's one of those
This is why black and white film is fascinating to me.
Yeah, you go and you see. Yeah, when you see behind the scenes footage, like our photos, you're like, "What? That's so crazy."
Well, when we were watching Dark Sunday,
Black Sunday,
or sorry, not Black Sunday. My bad. When we were watching that, the effect that made you were explaining it to me that made the woman seem dead and then or seem old and then make her really young.
Yeah,
using the red filter. I'm guessing was that same effect used in Young Frankenstein
during
likely. The monster.
Yeah, no. There's a movie. I'm forgetting the name of it that goes back to like 1938. That's one of the first times it's used, and a woman, like an sweet old lady, basically rips off her face and reveals this horrifying old demon. And like for a movie that's shot like in the 30s, if you don't know how it's done, you're like, oh my God, that is incredible. And it's just as incredible as in Black Sunday, but that's the same essential effect as using colored filters to remove bits of color from, to remove makeup from the actors' faces. In broadcast journalism, in the early days of black and white broadcast, they would have to wear this super crazy colorful makeup just so they would look normal because the old broadcast TV from like live TV from like the 50s and 40s, like that technology is like functioning on like super complex magic essentially. So to make people look normal, you had to make them look super crazy.
I did a stage play that was literally an entire recording of an episode of Gunsmoke.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that was where we included putting in like having several of us and other actors doing the sound effects as well.
That's cool.
Which was so yeah. When you talk about like just the technology that goes into like doing just a radio recording, it's so simplistic, but at the same time so complicated.
Yeah, no, that's what's really interesting about it. And actually, if you want to see some where I found out about that recently is a YouTube channel called Fact Fiend, and that was one of the more recent episodes talking about the Addams Family and color and such. So I just figured, shout out to the people who did the research, which made my job easier.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's see here. Speaking of something that there's a little tiny thing.
Okay.
That I really loved. I loved Detective Sunshine.
Oh, you mean the worst cop ever?
Yes,
Who
indeed.
just was able to do the basics of solving the simplest case that could be handed to him?
And they got a nice big pat on the back for it. It's like, oh, good job, buddy. Look at
like,
you.
The dude who goes into a crime scene, puts his finger in the blood, rubs it together. Yep, definitely blood. And then goes around and with the same finger dips it into the jar of baby food and tastes it.
Yeah. Don't go tasting random things.
That detective who just looks at everyone he talks to as a suspect and acts like that.
See, that guy actually got sent a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. He's the guy in The Last Jedi who, when they land on the planet at the end, is like, "It's salt, sir." And you're like, don't go tasting random planets. That's a bad idea. Don't put random dirt in your mouth. You don't. It's an alien planet. There could be literally anything in that sand. It could be a planet made out of arsenic.
Yes, I agree with you though. I definitely enjoyed this cop because he was just so much. And this actor, he looks familiar. Where have I seen him? I feel like he was the dude, the preacher in the Dawn of the Dead remake, where he's on television.
Yes,
doing all the right-wing talk. And
I believe you are correct. Yes, you are correct. He
was also in the original Dawn of the Dead.
Shout out to another fellow Ken Foray.
Ah.
And he's from Indianapolis. See, that's a twofer right there.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and see here he's in
Ken.
Halloween, he's in Dawn of the Dead.
I love that I mentioned the Dawn of the
Devil's
Dead remake
Rejects.
when he was just in the original Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the one that you're more familiar with. I mean, there's a lot of... I mean, yeah, you saw the fourth Texas Chainsaw Massacre before you saw the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And, like...
I also maybe saw the remake before I saw the actual...
man. I mean, like, don't be wrong.
Don't at me, everybody. Don't at me.
Of the remakes... Like, of the Platinum Dooms remake, I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the best ones, if not the best.
They got the same cinematographer for that one, too, right?
Yes. No, yeah. Daniel Pearl is the same cinematographer.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous film.
Well, and it's a really good class for young cinematographers to see, like, what you can do when you don't have, like, when you got a lot of skill, but you don't have a lot of resources. And then see what you can do with the same basic material when you've got, like, all the toys to play with.
Also, the, like, 2 or 3 disc DVD, the special features in that are amazing, and just the making of for that film gets into some crazy detail.
Now, speaking of actors that we love, there's another guy I want to talk about, Earl Bowen.
Ooh.
He played the IRS collector.
Yes, he played the IRS collector. He was also in Terminator 1, 2, and 3.
Indeed, that's what I was just about to bring up, that he was in fact, that's where people would probably know him from. He was he is Linda Hamilton's therapist in those movies.
Has he been in anything else? Because I feel like I've seen him in other things.
He's been in a whole ton of stuff.
Oh, and we haven't talked about the Ruffalo.
Young, creepy Ruffalo?
Young, creepy Ruffalo.
See here, he's been he's done a lot of video game stuff. Ruffalo, I guess.
I'm sure
maybe has. I don't know, but let's see here. He's been in Star Trek. He's been...
Who hasn't been in Star Trek?
Star Trek video game. Good God, yeah. He's been in like 270... He's been in, I think, every television show conceivable. He was on Punky Brewster, Remington Steele, Silver Spoons. Yeah, no, he's been in literally everything. He was on MASH for a while. Lots and lots and lots of stuff. But yes,
a TV movie called The Children That Nobody Wanted.
That sounds about right. But yes, no, we should definitely talk. What did you think about Creepy Ruffalo?
I was surprised by how his acting chops hadn't quite developed yet.
They were getting there.
Which, granted, the dialogue that he had to work with, troublesome.
Granted.
And I'm sure he knew how creepy it was coming out of him.
I mean, I think that's obviously the point. Like the him hitting on the girl with the braces scene.
Yeah, Virginia Keene, who played Sarah, the unluckiest little girl to ever exist.
Now that said,
also the luckiest.
I thought all of the stuff with her was fantastic. I loved the build. I loved the way it created suspense in the third act. I loved that it gave you like a little hint of a turn and a touch of joy before ripping it all away again. That might be one of my favorite parts of this, but besides like the bag of cheap tricks that Yuzna and Isaacs use, she was probably my favorite part of this. I loved a lot of other stuff. I loved the production design. I thought the dental assistants were a whole lot of fun. I thought they like...
Oh, the dental assistants were great. But like, oh gosh, what was it? I love Virginia Keene's delivery at the end as she's kind of outsmarts him. She goes, I swear, I'll brush my teeth 3 times a day. And then the desk is like, 3 times a day? And no candy.
3 times a day and no candy.
Deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is
so good.
Like she bargained with the serial killer dentist. This character is amazing.
Oh yeah, no, super good. Let's see here. Oh, speaking of other amazing lines, and it is not. We're not going to spoil the ending because the very end of this movie is insane. But when he pulls out the gun and just says, "Extract them all," that was when I was like, you know what? I might low-key love this movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the most insane scenes I have ever seen in a movie. And, like, I weirdly bought
Katie
it.
actually, like Katie didn't like it, or but she also, but she had fun with it.
I think this movie, if you can get past the
Katie
teeth
doesn't
trauma,
low-key like the things the way that we do, and that same kind of, that because it's just so weird, it's good kind of way. Like, if she saw Cats, she would not experience the same emotions that you did, Ken.
Why hasn't she seen Cats, David? Don't you love your fiance?
Because
do I need to send you home with a copy of Cats tonight?
I think she saw all the articles and interviews and said, you know what? Yeah, I don't need to spend money on this.
What? She doesn't have to spend money on it. I can just loan you my copy.
Ken, you would lend me your copy of
I would.
Cats?
It needs to come back. Let's be clear.
Is it on HBO Max? I feel like it is.
I mean, it's probably streaming somewhere.
You might not have to. I could just... I mean, unless it is a specific version that she needs to see.
The Butthole cut does not exist as of yet. I'm hoping that one day some rogue...
Hashtag release the Butthole cut.
Yes, I'm hoping some rogue VFX artist somewhere will one day be like, actually, I thought it was really funny, so I saved most of it on my computer, and oopsie daisy, I uploaded it to a torrent.
Well, what do you know? Mm-hmm. God damn it.
Let's see here.
Yes.
Go on.
Oh God, what was I going to say? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So there's a movie that I want to mention.
Yes.
That I think that Yuzna and Isaacs definitely were thinking about, which is John Frankenheimer's Seconds, which is an older movie but has a ton of super trippy visual effects, and I'm almost positive like the mirror effect, that like rippling when Corbin is kind of going crazy. Yeah. That is almost directly from Seconds.
And Corbin as an actor, like this is a little. This movie itself, the vibe is very tongue in cheek sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I think he's done a very good job at embracing the silly.
No pun intended.
You son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. But no, like he does a very good job at embracing the silly and the outlandishness of this pretty much this dentist going postal on everybody.
He grounds what could very easily be an insufferable Nicolas Cage performance.
Yeah. If this movie was taken completely serious, it would have been awful.
I mean, you have to look at the people who are behind it. Like, this is written by Dennis Paoli and Stuart Gordon, who wrote, like, Reanimator and From Beyond. They've got a long history of making absolutely amazing, but absolutely gonzo movies.
Oh, God, Society?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Robot Jocks. Let's see here. Dolls.
Have you ever seen Dolls?
I have seen Dolls.
I've not seen Dolls.
Space Truckers. Let's see. King of the Ants. I don't know.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, yeah, no, I mean, there's a reason he was on Masters of Horror. Stuart Gordon is one of. I mean, I personally have loved Reanimator from way back.
It's incredible. Katie hasn't seen it. I might actually force that upon her at some point.
Well, we might have to invite her back on the pod and make her discuss Reanimator.
Yeah, I think the thing that really sunk her opinion of this film was the gropey scene.
Yeah.
Which, because that was kind of that was also very much it lost a point for me for that, because I'm just like, if it has a purpose, sure. and I guess plot-wise it does deliver, it does place certain props in place for certain things to happen, but the way that it goes down just seemed to be because tits.
Yeah, I mean, also that, from what I understand, that particular thing is the thing that the real life dentist, and because I've heard the horror stories of like why people don't want to go out of knockout gas or whatever, or laughing gas, whatever you want, nitrous oxide. Yeah. There we go. Because something like that has happened before. So I have a feeling that is why. That doesn't excuse it, but and mind you, I understand why in 1996, when you need to get more nudity into the movie because of international distribution, that would be a way that you could do it.
To be fair, I do like that he got called out on it. Mm-hmm. Like there was, despite it is the reason why he ended up killing this character. But like there is one of his other assistants, like pretty much just finds pantyhose. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he sexually assaulted that woman, and I'm gonna say something. Mm-hmm. You know, not knowing that he was on a mental breakdown. I think had she known what was going on, I think maybe she might just have put it in her pocket and gone to the police. Yeah,
no, I actually, and one of the things I want to say about the dental assistants is I thought that they did a really, really great job of playing up the idea of working at a place that pays really well, and you're good at what you do, and your boss is kind of a lunatic, but you put up with it because benefits, yeah. And they did a great job, because it
seemed like a real dentist's office.
Yes, no, absolutely. Or you could at least totally understand how, like, up until he starts murdering people, how they have put up with these various outbursts. And
he's genuinely, like, from his first scene when he's talking to his wife, chewing her out, which I do feel like we should talk a little bit about the wife in this, given that she is the reason for everything happening.
She is the MacGuffin.
Yeah, I guess the MacGuffin.
Yeah, or the enticing incident, I guess we would say.
Yeah, but like you can tell from the beginning, he is not an easygoing person. He is uptight.
Oh,
he is a control freak. He likes things a certain way, and when they are not done to his satisfaction, he loses his fucking shit. And this is before he saw his wife going down on the pool man, which is why he goes insane. But one could argue that he was always insane. He had a condition.
Well, he was taking pills, clearly. Like, just the way that the assistants and the other, like, people in the office talk about him, the way his wife was just like, hey, just take a pill. Don't take too many. You know how you get. Like, it's clear that, like, yeah, he's on medication for some sort of anger problem, and it is now, that has clearly been also something else, but it is now, this is the thing that, quote-unquote, triggered him into losing his touch with reality.
Yeah. I thought the whole thing, the storyline and the plot going on with his wife, I find in this film it's a little problematic for me in the way that it's portrayed. At the same time, like, there were points where she seems like a perfectly regular human being who just who took the shirts in to get them washed and just missed a detail, but, like, also she has a job that, like, she's not just somebody who, like, she's not just a trophy wife who does nothing. She has a job.
She is to him, and I think that because the movie's from his perspective.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of looking at it.
So, like, to him, she is just like another thing that he owns that needs to stay up to his standards of hygiene and of cleanliness and fitting into the box that he has created, that he defines as his life himself.
Yeah. I think I had a little bit of a problem with it, not until I didn't have as big a problem until I listened to some interviews, or not some interviews, but some reviews of the film, and primarily what I hear most from a lot of male reviewers is that, in their tone, even one guy said, "Bitch had it coming."
Oh, yikes! Yeah, no, that is a horse of a different color.
I mean, yeah, like it's because then it's the idea of, like, cool in some way. I guess the way that this is portrayed, but I think also men are just fucking crazy a lot of the times and see shit that's not there. But something like this can be seen as an excuse of harm towards women because they're supposed to be subservient, or they're supposed
to be fair, they're pretty clear that Corbin is an insane homicidal maniac, and so his opinions and his actions are not to be endorsed. I've kind of reminded of in Chasing Amy, where you have the Jason Lee character who is pretty openly homophobic, and everybody is pretty clear, like, shut up, idiot, like, you're wrong. And there's a moment in the interviews with Kevin Smith where somebody stands up and, is like, well, why do you have this character in the movie? And he's like, so everybody can tell him he's wrong. Like, so there's an episode, not to get too weird, there's an episode of the TV show Dinosaurs.
Okay.
Where
I want to see where this goes.
Where the grandma reads a book to the baby. And they get to the end of the story, and the baby is kind of like, well, that's stupid. Like, the guy didn't get what he wants. And the grandma is kind of like, yeah, but, like, he was a jerk, and so he shouldn't get what he wants. And so, like, what we're learning from the story is, like, you are learning what the character didn't learn. And that's what makes it a good story. Like, that's what makes it that's how, like, a tragedy works. The whole point of a tragedy isn't to say, like, oh, man, that Hamlet had it right all along. Mm-hmm. Like, no, the whole point is to learn to, like, maybe be less like Hamlet sometimes.
Yeah. I just think sometimes...
Don't be King Lear.
Yeah, I think sometimes this film sort of ran into the same problem that Falling Down would run into, and it's the idea that this person was right in how they displayed their anger, and they were... right to cheer on, like, the physical harm of people just for inconveniencing somebody.
Yeah, Falling Down has a real...
Which, granted, like, yes, cheating on your spouse is morally pretty fucked up. I don't think anything warrants you harming somebody.
Yes, no, I mean, I think that's the problem with Falling Down, is that it is the story of a very charismatic... serial shooter. Like, it is not, that's what it is. Like, he literally, like, walks into places with machine guns and shoots up places. Like, and the movie makes you understand why he's doing that, but that doesn't make it okay. That's not an endorsement of what he's doing. It is just is how this is happening from this person's perspective.
That Fight Club wasn't
an endorsement of
of white supremacy and
well, it's I mean, the real terrorism was the friends we made along the way. Like, the people, the number of college kids I grew up with who had Fight Club posters on their wall, who clearly, like, just didn't watch the end of the movie. Like did you not notice where that took a turn and didn't work out?
Hey, QAnon guys, this whole thing about the Matrix and the Red Pill? You do know that was created by trans filmmakers, and the whole thing was supposed to be an allegory for the trans community and sexuality and the spectrum and everything like that. It's
like
obviously, like, it's not the filmmaker's fault for idiots.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it unfortunate that there are people like that spouting that ridiculous opinion for people to see.
There's a great quote from Fish Called Wanda where Otto says to Kevin Kline says to Jamie Lee Curtis's character, apes don't read philosophy, and she goes, yes, they do, Otto. They just don't understand it. And that, to me, like, almost every person I see who's screaming, like, this is Orwellian, it's just like 1984. And it's like, no, it's not. Please go read the book. Like, go read a book other than Harry Potter. Especially if you're going to talk about it.
Or, it's like I feel like you're just pretending to have read The Fountainhead.
Yes, no, exactly. Oh, yeah, Atlas Shrugged, another book, like, I know you read it, but you didn't understand it.
Ayn Rand hated Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
And was all about abortion?
Yeah, and died on welfare. So,
But yeah, I suppose maybe that allows me to walk back a little bit on my opinion of how the wife is portrayed. I just do wish that they'd made her a little bit more sympathetic. Yeah. In the sense, like, I get it, it's through his perspective. I think they did a decent job enough at the beginning where she's like, well, I've got this thing. I have work. But also, I got you this gift for our anniversary. Aren't I sweet? Stop yelling at me, please. And it's... I wish that had carried on a little bit more in her character, but then once she gets with the pool boy, she's like smoking inside the house.
That was the one scene where I was like...
She is straight up disrespectful.
When she lit up the cigarette in the house, and I was like, are you out of your mind? Like, he's gonna know.
That's gonna stick to shit.
It's cigarettes.
It's not weed where it just goes away after a couple of hours.
Yeah, I smoked for years, and yeah, that is not going away. And God help you if you drop an ash anywhere, or like it discolors some of the paint in the... Like, there's... Yeah, no, that's a real, like...
There's a reason why if you smoke in your apartment, you lose your deposit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, at least take that... Like, go out by the pool house, at least. Go have a cigarette out there. Well, I mean, she clearly did, but... all the time.
Yeah, she had more than a cigarette out by the pool.
Indeed.
Which was really interesting in the idea of... because she went down on him, and then that was an interesting translation into dental hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Which... Also, gotta say, really fucking gross that she sucked on his finger after he'd been working on the fucking filter, which God knows what the hell kind of... Like he's covered in this filth.
Like sludge.
Like sludge from a pool filter. You don't know what the fuck ends up in that thing. At one point, her tongue ended up in there.
Well, yeah. Good times.
So, things end up in the filter that maybe you might not want to put your mouth on. And she just goes to town on his finger.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes to town on other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just... It was gross, Ken.
Yeah, there's a lot of finger sucking in this movie.
Yeah, there is a lot... Between her and the cop, a lot of finger sucking.
If anybody knows Brian Yuzna, A, let us know how to pronounce his name, and B, find out if Brian Yuzna...
Does he have a finger fetish?
Yeah, is Brian to fingers as Quentin is to feet?
Just like an oral fixation?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, if somebody out there can answer that for us,
which by the way,
please do.
Ain't here to kink shame.
Yeah, no.
You know what? I am here to either, I'm not here to be a goalie. I'm here either to assist you or get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, if you like to fillet a phalange, I say more power to you. So, David, do you have anything else you want to mention, or?
I do, Ken.
Ooh.
And it concerns our next episode.
Oh, does it?
Because, folks, do we have a treat for you? We had been waiting to do our discussion on the Slacks movie. First off, because we've been doing a lot of Shudder exclusives, and so we do like to keep a nice balance between older films that Ken wants to show me and trying to support the actual streaming service itself by talking about some of their exclusives.
Well, and also showing you why Shudder is so good, because when they choose something, there's a reason they chose it.
Yeah. But also I wanted to see, maybe we can get somebody from the film on here, like we did with Dark and the Wicked.
Ooh.
And, Ken, we didn't just get anybody for this one. We got Elsa Kefart, the writer and director of Slacks.
Oh. Wow.
So we are going to, she's in Morocco right now. So we are going to
fancy.
I know, right? So we are going to be recording our interview with her first thing tomorrow morning. And then we'll have a nice little bonus episode for all of you. And there's another interview in the works, which I will wait to talk about because there's still some details that we're rearranging. Mm-hmm. But that one's going to be a treat for the 30th.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, it won't be so much as a bonus episode as it'll be a bonus to the episode. We're going to do our review of Slacks, and then we're going to have...
Yeah, just like the Dark and the Wicked.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not going to be a special bonus episode that comes out early. It'll be next week's episode, but it will have a bonus to it.
Correct, yes.
So I'm going to take the keys out of the time machine because we don't need it this week because we already know what we're doing.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, you know what we could do? I'm pretty excited about this interview. I mean, I suppose we could end the episode, but we could hit the button on the... we could start the time machine and then stop recording just as we disappear. And then it will be like, for us, no time has passed at all.
Oh, damn.
But for the audience, they're going to have to wait till next week.
Okay. I'm going to follow your lead on this
Okay.
one.
Now, before we
step in... I think I know what's going on.
Before we step in, David.
Yes.
Do you have any plugs that you want to plug?
Oh, all the plugs. I want to plug our channel that I manage on Instagram, Shudder_show, where we give all the updates about films we're going to do and episodes coming up and things to look forward to. Also, maybe want to plug my own Instagram, because I'm important too.
I
got things to say.
Why not?
Yeah, and it's _DW Marlowe, so follow me on there to see what I get up to in my regular boring life.
There we go. Yeah, and see, you can check us out on Twitter at Shutter Show. You can send us an email at shuttershow@gmail.com. You can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Ken Stachnik.
We'll check you out, all right,
STACHNIK. And you can check out our mascot, Freddy Potatoes, on his Instagram at Freddy Potatoes. That's Freddy with an IE. And let's see here. Oh, also, if you are in the mood to help us out, we would love for you to go and leave us a review on iTunes. That helps us get seen by the algorithm and find all sorts of new and incredible people to share our show with.
Yes, please share us along. And thank you everybody who reaches out to us asking for recommendations and giving us suggestions. We freaking love you guys. Okay, here we go. All right, fuck you, everybody. Hopping in.
All right, and